Thank you very much. Well, 11 years ago, on Christmas Eve, a parent, I was teaching 6th grade English at the Advanced Math and Science Academy. One of my students' parents said tomorrow we will be making breakfast for veterans at the Grove Street shelter in Worcester. It was Christmas Eve morning. So we got up at 4 o'clock and we went in, and a bunch of us went in there and prepared breakfast for about 130 vets. And it was so much fun. And so rewarding. And these were all homeless vets. They were actually in the shelter there on Grove Street. And it's about 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm going around and saying hi to all the vets. And there was one gentleman that was kind of staring into his coffee cup. And I went up to him and I said, "Hey buddy, you're going to get in trouble in here." And he said, "What are you talking about? I didn't do anything." I said, "Yeah, but you're wearing a Washington Redskins sweatshirt and we're in Patriot Nation." And he never made eye contact with me. He just simply said, "It's all I own." And just like the Southwest commercial, you know, you want to get away, I have never felt so ashamed to automatically assume that this guy had other stuff that he could wear. Particularly, you know, he wanted to wear a Patriot sweatshirt. So this morning I was up at the Montechusett Rotary, and they start as part of their weekly protocol. They actually sing a song, and they sang "America" this morning. And it was wonderful. I haven't heard it in years, but it brought a tear to my eye because my brother Jimmy was in the Navy. He died while serving in his country, and "America" was actually played at his funeral. So every time I hear that song, not only do I feel great pride, but it brings back memories of my lost brother. My dad fought in the Navy in both World War II and Korea. My brother Jimmy died in the Navy. My brother Manny, my oldest brother, he did 2 tours of the Navy in Vietnam, and actually was wounded. But I went into the Army. And my dad never forgave me for making that decision, but WPI gave me a 4-year scholarship, and Holy Cross was only going to give me a 2-year scholarship, so I went to the Army. So my dad just never let me park the car in the driveway. He said that, you know, no grunt would ever park his car in our driveway. And he was Navy through and through. I mean, it was like, you know, very disappointed. I said, "Dad, I'll take the Navy scholarship if you pay the other 2 years at Clark University." And he goes, "No, you can go in the Army." So I've always been quite proud of my heritage and my family's sacrifice to our country. And that day, I kind of made a promise to myself that I would address this issue. If a veteran wants to wear a Patriot sweatshirt, he should be given that opportunity, and much, much more. So I went back to my classroom, and the following year I talked to all of my parents. I said, "I'm starting this thing, I coined it Sweats for Vets, and can you give me some sweats?" And my parents were so giving, you know, and I ended up getting like 80 sweatshirts the first year. And they were all wrapped by my kids, and they also had socks and gloves and hats and so forth. So we went back up to Vets Incorporated, did the breakfast, and as I'm passing out the sweatshirts, I realized there was like 120 vets, and I only had sweats for 80. Well, again, you know, want to get away? I mean, it's like, it's pretty, it really dug into my heart that I did all this work, and it still didn't serve all the vets at Vets Incorporated. So then it became a yearly quest. And I started raising money, and I preferred donations to serve in the next year. Not only did we handle all of Vets Incorporated in Worcester, but all of their satellite sites. And Vets Incorporated has today like 11 different sites, and I provide sweats for all of those sites, and they go all the way from Maine to Vermont. I mean, Vets Incorporated is a big organization these days, multi-million-dollar organization. But that same year, I also did it, back then it was called the New England Home for Homeless Veterans in Boston. It's about a block from the State House. And every year, we've grown. So let me show you. Oops. Oh, God. I'm going to do this real quick. Hold on. Where's my glasses? My glasses. Excuse me. This is a new laptop. I'm not. So, over the years, we've grown. So we started doing Worcester, then Worcester and Boston, then Worcester, Boston, and North Central, up to Massachusetts, Veteran Services, and DAB has some homeless shelters up in, homeless transitional homes up in Gardner. We also now do all of Lynn. We do Father Mike's in Quincy, and the Main Street survey, the Main Street, thank you. The Main Street shelter in Brockton. We go all the way out to, and I didn't even know there was a hospital over there at first, out to Leeds. The VA has a hospital in Leeds, Massachusetts, believe it or not. It's a big campus. And on that campus, they also have a homeless shelter. They have homeless shelters in Pittsfield. So every year, I'm blessed to have a little bit more money and a little bit more volunteers, and it grows. And now we do all of Rhode Island. Last year, we did all of northern Connecticut and Hartford and down to Rocky Point, which is their big VA location. There's certain things I won't do. I just want you to know that. I won't go down to southern Connecticut, because then I'm going to have to buy a Yankee sweatshirt, and there's just so much I'll do for a veteran, you know.
Worse than Giants.
Yeah, true story. These two guys, I'm in Boston, Christmas morning. My mother spent her entire year getting ready for Christmas, and I had great memories growing up with Christmas, but I really haven't enjoyed Christmas to the level I have since I started this company, this nonprofit, because now I spend Christmas in the homeless shelters with vets and making them happy and grin. And there's no better feeling in the world to me, at least. But these two guys in Boston come up to me on Christmas morning, and I'm passing out sweatshirts. Here you go, what size? Large? Here you go. Hey, do you have any Celtics? Yeah, I got Celtics here. These two guys come up and say, hey, do you have any New York Giants sweatshirts? And I looked at them and I said, we're in Boston, buddy. We're not fans of the New York Giants by any stretch of imagination. And they said to me, with all sincerity, they said to me, I'd rather be dead than be caught in a Patriot sweatshirt. And that just shows you the pride that these guys have. When we give them a sweatshirt, I've seen them put their sweatshirt over pajamas, over trench coats. If you go into Worcester, we're in Worcester, but if you go around Worcester or around Boston, probably more likely, and you choose to see the homeless, because they're there, and sometimes we just drive by and we don't see them unless they're out there with a can looking big, you know, at the corner, but they're there. You'll notice the ones who are veterans because they're proudly wearing their Sweats for Vets sweatshirt. And it brings great pride to me and they always, so when I collect them, I collect large or larger, because they always wear it on the outside, and they wear layers. So sometimes they may have a sweater, a trench coat, and then their New England Patriot sweatshirt, which is, you know, I always say that we offer pride in the Boston teams, warmth, and a little bit of hope for a veteran, one sweatshirt at a time. That's me on Christmas morning. I did the Santa Claus beard too. So that's actually the entrance to the New England Center for Homeless Vets in Boston. So last year, we did slightly over 2,000 sweats last year at 97 locations throughout New England. You know, Vets Incorporated got 11 different locations and 220 sweats last year. But now we're doing all of Vermont, all New Hampshire, and we're also doing, just started 2 different locations in North Carolina. And that's just simply because a gentleman and a lady who I trust dearly said they had a lot of homeless vets down there and they would like to start a chapter down there. And I said, be my guest, as long as we keep track of the finances. So we've grown from, 40 sweats and Vets Incorporated in Worcester to now over, this year we probably will go over 100 different shelters and transitional homes for homeless vets. There's our organizations that have funded us, and if you notice, I live in Marlboro, and the Sweats for Vets is out of basically I've given up my entire two-car garage to be my warehouse. My wife doesn't like that too much, but she's now got used to it. So here's just some of the folks that have given a lot of Boy Scouts, and Girl Scouts, and church groups, and some corporations as well. So where's our future? Well, this year we're going to there's a large company, entertainment center called the Apex in Marlboro. You can do everything in that place, it's crazy. I don't especially like the place because it's just too much stimulus for my simple brain, but they're very generous to the community. And they have an Apex in Albany and an Apex in Syracuse. So with their help, we're going to be servicing the homeless vets in upstate New York this year. So we'll probably be adding on. But my number one funder, there was a small pub in Hudson called Finnegan's Pub. You probably never heard of it, unless you're from the area. They have great food. And from day one, they've always supported Sweats for Vets. We were the only organization that they funded. In fact, for every year, except last year and this year, we've always had a golf tournament for Sweats for Vets right here, right at this golf course. But this year, because business is not going well and they can't get the staff, this is the first year that Finnegan's won't be able to support Sweats for Vets. So that's between 300 and 400 sweatshirts that they annually give that we won't be getting this year. So, it is what it is. So I'm here today to ask you, as the Worcester Rotary, to consider a donation to Sweats for Vets. I prefer sweatshirts. I'm one of the few organizations, or we're one of the few organizations, that 100% of what you give goes right to the homeless vets. There's no administration costs, there's no gas, there's no postage or anything else. Everything is done through volunteerism, and you make a difference. And it's funny when I'm here in Worcester on Christmas Eve or in Boston on Christmas Day, when a vet gets a New England sweatshirt, a Patriot sweatshirt, or Red Sox or Celtics, their eyes light up like they're a kid. You remember when you were a kid and you opened up those, were so excited to run down on Christmas morning to get your presents? Well, that's how some of these vets are. And when you see that, you want to do more and more, and that's what I'm doing. So it's a passion of mine. I am the incoming president at the Marlboro Rotary. They too have contributed to Sweats for Vets. And I'm just excited to be here today. And hopefully you can see the passion that I have towards our homeless vets. Unfortunately, there's a lot of them. And it's a very complicated issue. Last year, I talked to dozens of vets who didn't want to go into the shelters because they were afraid of catching COVID in the shelters. And they'd rather be cold than catching COVID. Many of them are substance abuse. They have substance abuse and mental illness. And they don't want to go into the shelters because they're afraid. And many of them have told me this is not just one, but many. They don't want to go into the shelters because the drug dealers know that the vets are addicts. So the dealers themselves will go into the shelters because they have a captive audience in there, and the homeless vets. So when they say, like, why do these vets stay on the street? Well, there's a whole bunch of different reasons why they stay on the streets. And it's not a simple issue. Just building them new houses is not going to solve homelessness for our vets. And they've done so much for our country that, giving them a sweatshirt is the least we can do, in my opinion. So, are there any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you ever think of approaching Robert Kraft, for example?
Actually, the Kraft Foundation, funny story. I did. One of our members at the Rotary in Marlboro was an attorney for the Kraft Foundation. But there's a lot of attorneys. Don't think that, he's just on the street from down the hall from Robert. But he did get me the head of their foundation. She called me on Christmas Eve one year and said, look, we can't do anything this late this year, but next year we want to. So I got contacted, and they said, we have a whole container of sweatshirts for you. And they gave me, it's a funny story, the NFL gave the Patriots NFL jerseys. They were beautiful sweatshirts, and it said NFL on the front of them. And they basically gave them to the New England Patriots and say, hey, wear these things and promote the league. Well, the players said, we're not wearing them until you pay us to wear them. So they had this whole container of NFL sweatshirts that they didn't have any use for. So they gave them all to me, and I gave them all to the vets, and the vets loved them, even though they weren't Boston sweatshirts.
Have you thought of approaching the Celtics or the Red Sox?
I've contacted a lot of them. Now, my mom grew up in Clinton, and she was one of 13 kids, so she was maybe the most frugal person that ever lived, and she passed that along to me. So like every time I go by a Marshalls or a TJX, I gotta go in there quick, and I'll grab 10 sweatshirts and so forth. In TJX, I finally worked my way to TJX, and I said, I'm not looking for a donation, but if you could just sell them to me in $19.99, that's a sale price, and I'll buy $10,000 worth. And they have done that the last 2 years. And then last year they gave me like an extra 250 of them. This year they gave me an extra 100 of them. So I'm trying to work my way through different corporations. It's a lot harder than you think it is. We are, what's the C3, IRS. Yes, we have that. The tax benefit is an issue. We are a bona fide nonprofit. And this is our 10th year, so I'm pretty proud of the fact. And I virtually have now, the first 7 years or 6 years, I did everything. And I was losing my mind and the last hair off my head. And someone said, why don't you just ask people? So now through social media and through the Rotary and other organizations that I'm affiliated with, I had one person who handles Maine. Now I had another person who handles New Hampshire. And they love it. They just love it because it's a Christmas spirit. They just love going to these shelters and dropping it off these. And every one of them, I do the initial contact. So if I call a shelter up in Rutland, Vermont, I say, how many do you need and what sizes do you need? So, and then I'll pack a bag up and for my elves, I call them, and say, this one goes to Rutland. And everything is right by size, and a lot of times I even try to get them the team that they want. Some folks will give me, and I pass them out, but I prefer not to have just plain. Someone will come up and say, I got these 10 champion sweatshirts and they're wonderful, I got them on sale at Kohl's, and I'd like you to give them to the vets. And I said, thank you, first of all, because I will find use for them. But the vets, that pride in getting a Boston team sweatshirt is what really matters to them. Or even like a Boston College. In the 1 year I got a bunch of Boston College sweatshirts. But they probably would, Holy Cross, they would probably get excited, you know what I mean? It's like they just want to tell people they're from Massachusetts. And that's what's kind of special about what we do specifically. I mean, Vets Incorporated does an amazing job, with their homeless vets as it is, but I would go to say the favorite gift that they receive at Christmas time is that New England Patriots sweatshirt. So, any other questions?
Have you approached the foundations of these professional sports teams?
The only one I've had, yes, I've sent letters to them, but you really need to try to find that person who can get you in the door. The letter, they probably get, I don't know, hundreds, maybe thousands of letters. So I haven't had much success with that. And again, throughout the year, the only person is me. And I probably should try to recruit some folks to help me, get that word of mouth out there and try to find that person who can get me in with like I said, the Kraft Foundation knows about us, and I'm sure that they will offer again somewhere down the road. but the others I just haven't had any luck.
If you send an envelope full of glitter, you'll get a phone call.
Possibly. Possibly. From state police. Any other questions? Well, thank you, lady and gentlemen, for inviting me.
I want to thank you for coming today, and thank you for enlightening us about sweats for vets. I was very curious when I saw this sweats for vets. What does that mean? You know, but I want to give you the Rotary Pen of Distinction.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for your service to the country, and thank you for today's talk. We appreciate it.
Very much.
Thank you very much. And now it's time. Drum roll. Time for the drawing, 50-50. Members win 50%, win, what's the pot up to?
$220.
$220. A guest will win half of the day's take, which is, what, $10?
$10.
Yeah. We'll have our guest speaker pull the winning ticket out. And the last four are? Glasses.
I keep thinking that, you know, it's funny, I'm almost 60 and I keep thinking I'm going to get my better eyes. The last four, 95-83. Draft. 95-83.
It's not me.
Is it you? Is it Ken Harling?
It is.
It is Ken Harling.
He's got a win.
Well, we're gonna see if he picks the right card.
I don't want to know what it is. Then we won't tell you.
What's the card?
That ain't it. We're looking for the red joke. That ain't it.
It's easy enough.
Good try, Ken. That's all the excitement I can
All right, well, the excitement's now over. You blew it, Ken. Well, I want to thank everyone for coming today, and please help us out on Sunday. Sign up over there on the sign-up sheet. It's easy enough. Many hands make light work. And remember our veterans this week in particular. Thank you very much. Have a good week.
Good job, Bob.
Thank you.